firstly, you have to know how to budget.
Yep.
Okay, because it is a commitment, and you can't still go Europe every year, and you know how people just think, oh, I deserve to go on these fancy holidays because I work hard. Well, guess what? You can make a decision: go on holidays or actually buy property.
That's it.
Because whilst it wasn't that much sacrifice, because you can still go and do things. You can go on holidays, but you just go and do the fancy stuff, and that enabled me to keep buying because I had to keep serviceability going. And wherever I could save, I would have. Obviously, I had an offset, so I just kept them filling up my offset, which allowed me then to take money to go buy another property.
You're listening to Property Investor Tales, stories from the front yard. Here's your host, Hayley Beavis.
Okay, hello, it's Hayley here. I've actually taken over the podcast from Tabitha Bright, so lucky me. And I get to join some wonderful investors such as Andre to share their story about what they've been up to. And Andre, you've actually retired yourself through property, over the last 10 to 12 years. So would love to hear obviously a little bit about your story. Where are you located? You're up in the Sunshine Coast?
Yes, so I live in Mooloolaba, and we've been here for a year. We lived in Brisbane prior to that. And about 22 months ago, November 2020, I retired. And
congratulations.
Thank you. And it was an interesting story because my property investment goal was to enable retirement. Because if I didn't do this, I would never retire. I would have to keep working forever, basically. And that's mainly because I got divorced in 2000. And my wife and children got the house, and I took 2 years to get rid of all the family debt. And at the end of 2002, I had zero wealth and knew I was never going to own my own place. So I rented, but was keen to really start my investment property because back when I was 16 years old, actually, I had this dream or desire to own my own property, my own home, have it mortgage free, and then have 4 investment properties. Where back in those days, 25% of a person's salary was paid for a rental. And I thought, well, that means 4 properties, means I have 100% salary. That is my theory back when I was 16 years old. But through my married life, we weren't able to start anything because we bought a lot of houses and sold because we moved around a lot when I was married. And but my ex-wife, never wanted to live in a rented property. She always wanted to live in a home because she felt more secure. But when you move, as you know, when you move around a lot, you buy and sell, it costs you money, and you never capitalize on the growth. So we were always just making the grade. And when I got divorced, I wanted to do something, but it took me a few years before I could save up money.
Yeah, very good. And you're originally from South Africa, is that correct?
Correct. So back in 1990, I left with my 5-year-old son and my wife. And a year later, my daughter arrived while here. And so I have a son and daughter. And yes, it was just thankful to be able to come to Australia and be able to do something.
Yeah, awesome. And prior to joining PRE, tell me a little bit about, you mentioned you bought one property. I think you joined PRE in around 2010. So tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, so in 2009, I met Sue, and Sue was very keen to do property investment, and as was I. So it was like, okay. And she convinced me, so I lived in Manly, and she convinced me to do a 50-50 property purchase on a unit in Fairlight, where it required a new bathroom and required renovations and, a whole lot of simple things that she wanted to do because she was really a keen renovator, whereas I wasn't really keen because all the houses that we had bought while I was married, I had to fix up. So I was like, I don't want to renovate. But she convinced me, and it was really quite cheap. So we bought it, and it required a new bathroom. But somebody in our complex heard that we were renovating, and they said, "Oh no, you can't do anything until you get body corporate approval." And we said, "Oh, okay." So in our naivety, we thought, so we have to go through the process, and it basically delayed the process by 3 months. But it turns out that we didn't need any approval because we weren't doing any structural changes.
Right.
It's just a renovation bathroom. And then, of course, we tidied up the kitchen and we got rid of carpets and floors and stuff. And we kept it till end of 2017 and doubled our price.
Wow.
So in 7 years, we doubled. And but we had great tenants and good rental. So it was a really good buy. But it was a case of, okay, but how do we do this again? And what if we want to expand? We don't want to have to keep buying the house down the road because that's what we were used to now. This is what it is. And also, through my 25 years of marriage, I was used to buying the house that was emotionally attached. And so you never ever thought of, oh, this is a good investment. This was a home, basically. Yeah. So Sue had heard of Pre. In fact, she heard. I think she knew Tabitha through Brisbane, through some friends, and I joined in 2010. And my next property, which was the following year, was at Marylands. And Marylands. So whilst it wasn't done through Pre, my mentor at that stage had walked me through the process. But also, I had a strategy. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to have at least 5 properties.
Yep. Before
I retire. And I knew I was never going to pay them down, but I needed to have them all positively geared and look after themselves and hold on as long as I could once I got to the 5 to then sell off and buy my own property when I retire and things like that. So I had a really clear idea of what I wanted to do. But again, I didn't buy expensive properties because fear of losing or not having money. Because I now was risk averse financially. And so some of the key things that I was told back then was if you buy into a complex, especially at the lower end of the market, be careful of pools, be careful of lifts and things that'll cost you a lot and maintenance because that'll reload your profits.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what one thing the mentor did help me with though is he helped me with getting a good discount.
Yep.
So he didn't do it for me, but he was the ear. He was in my ear all the time, and because I was happy just to pay. I was like, okay, you just pay it, you just go for it, and so I thought they were good deals. But I got 4% off, and I think it was 4 years later, I got 50% profit from that property. And what I did with that, okay, is I went and bought a house in Adelaide. All right. And this was a bit out there, but the intention was to demolish it and build 3 villas. Because I had made a sizable amount of profit, I was able to then fund that process and get the mortgages for each of those 3 villas through the bank. And the only thing about that, it took longer than expected.
Yep.
But I was able to fund it, so it didn't cause me any financial stress. And having said that, the initial goal was for me to sell all 3 and then go and do it again somewhere else. But I thought at that stage, I was getting on in time, and I wanted to think about retirement as opposed to keep buying, sell. Because at that stage, I think I'd already bought a property in Brisbane as well.
Yep.
And so I kept them. And with the property in Brisbane, I bought a property in Rockingham, which is in Perth.
Yes. Oh, yes. So this was, didn't you say you bought this on a trip to Thailand or something like that?
This was my big mistake. Okay.
Yes. Tell me a little bit about that.
This is one of those stories where you think, oh, why did I do that? But serious. So this particular property had just been built. I was in Thailand on holidays, and he said, I've got a great property for you. Have a look. You send me all the stuff on all these PDFs, and gave me all the guff about the area and the infrastructure and all the stuff that's happening there. Excuse me. And so I said, all right, sure, go. Let's do it. Let's just do it. Wrong. Because I paid a premium, but within 6 to 12 months, the prices had dropped dramatically. My rent dropped down so badly that I was just lucky I could hold on to it because I couldn't sell it. And my mortgage interest rate was high because I bought it with a 10% deposit, but I couldn't reduce my, with all any other properties I've had, I've tried to get it to a point where it's positively geared, and I can negotiate good interest rates.
And how long ago did you buy this one in WA?
I made a note here of all the things I've done here. 2014.
2014. Okay. So I guess in WA that was just before it started to.
It crashed just after that.
Yeah. And it's been a long journey from there in WA.
Because this particular one was one of those villas, a 322 villa, and very popular. People were buying, but and I think what's happened in that area is that they've all evolved to 422 now.
Yep.
So nobody wants a 322 when you can buy a 422, and so after all this time, I've always been negatively geared. And one of the key things that people have always said to me is that, when you buy properties, because I was earning a good salary, negative gear is good. And to me, that's just not on, because I don't buy properties to save tax, because to me, I'm still paying, even though I'm getting a benefit from the tax, I'm still paying extra. I shouldn't have to.
Yep.
And so this was really bad, because it was brand new. I had the depreciation, so I was getting great tax benefits because it was very negatively geared. Great depreciation, and but
that's not the only reason we buy property, right?
Definitely not. But at the same time, because of that, soon I had to think about getting rid of the Fairlight property, because being a 50-50. The bank said, no, but you're 100% liable, even though you're 50% ownership. So that affected my, my serviceability to buy anything else. And so 2017, we sold the Fairlight one, as I said, for double of what we paid for. And what that enabled me to actually take 18 months off.
Yeah,
Can you believe somebody who actually never thought they'd retire? I took 18 months off.
It was a very short period of time for you as well. For 10 years to be able to get yourself in a position to retire yourself, essentially. It's pretty amazing.
Well, I think we were lucky because we bought just after the GFC.
Yep.
Yeah, so 2010, then 11. I made a note here. Bought 2010, 11, 14, and 15, and then sold Perry Hill 17. Oh no, I bought all the. I bought the other ones in 2017. The three in Adelaide.
Oh, yep, the 3 villas in Adelaide.
Yeah, and because
so would you consider that one your best deal then, the one in Adelaide?
The Fairlight one actually turned out to be, because we did a full renovation ourselves.
Yes.
We had to get the bathroom guy in to do plumbing and all that stuff, but we micromanaged that process, and we did the whole place up ourselves. That was best for a return, because we got great rent on that, and of course doubling within 7 years was great as well. But that was Sydney for you. Maryland's doubled. But we were just lucky at that stage, and then of course the market dived a bit, and but I've never bought an expensive place. I've always been in the 300,000 range, because I was afraid to buy. People said, go and buy $1 million place, and you only have one. You don't have to worry about anything else. But the risk of that not being rented, or or something, is like, I've got all that income, so I have to all that cost I have to try and accommodate. So I just went for small little ones, and it's worked for me.
Yeah, well, 300,000 would be a challenge to find in any capital.
Oh, you won't do it now.
It would certainly be double that, that's for sure.
But everything's relative, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyone that's kind of listening along to your journey, and obviously you've done it very, very quickly, and to be honest, it's really impressive to hear. Obviously, I'm on the different end of the scale. I'm in my acquisitions phase. I'm nice and young. Got time on my side. For you, obviously, doing it really quickly was something that needed to be done. Being a quick 10-year journey, and it sounds like you've obviously done really well out of it, with properties doubling in value and obviously being able to purchase the villas. Anybody listening along to this, what has been the biggest lessons that you've learned along the way?
Okay, so firstly, you have to know how to budget.
Yep.
Okay, because it is a commitment, and you can't still go, Europe every year, and you know how people just think, oh, I deserve to go on these fancy holidays because I work hard. Well, guess what? You can make a decision, go on holidays or actually buy property.
That's it.
Because whilst, it wasn't that much sacrifice, because you can still go and do things, you can go on holidays, but you just don't do the fancy stuff. And that enabled me to keep buying because I had to keep serviceability going. And wherever I could save, I would have, obviously I had an offset. So I just kept them filling up my offset, which allowed me then to take money to go buy another property because, that's how it works. And so I guess the first thing is be able to budget. Secondly, one of the big mistakes I had, again, with the Perth property was that I didn't do my own due diligence. Even if it's somebody don't trust them to make all the decisions for you or go do your research and tell you about things. Because, even though the brochure said there's all this infrastructure happening and all that, there were so many promises that never eventuated and the market just turned and it was disastrous. So know that you can accommodate downturns, interest rate hikes, so make sure you have a budget that can accommodate it.
And buffers.
The buffers, you have to have a buffer.
Buffers.
Yes. So I've always had a 3-month buffer, always.
Yep.
So if I lost my job, I could always, which is what my offset was all about, and I always had enough money to live for 3 months. So, and that takes the stress out of anything. The other thing that I found, and that I recommend people do, is look after your tenant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because.
And in what way do you say that?
So whilst my objective was always to make money, I would try and find people who, based on their history, you could see that they weren't just somebody who moves in and out of places 6 months, every 6 months, and just moving around. With stability, not in jobs, because jobs come and go, but in their life. So I was lucky because I found people who wanted to stay, who wanted to look after my property. And when anything happened, I would immediately just sort it out. And they appreciate the fact that you are, no matter what it is, what it costs, whatever it is, you sort it out straight away. And I had great property managers who became very close to my tenants. And because one thing I learned is that if you're changing your tenants every 6 months, it costs you a fortune.
It does, with reletting fees, marketing, all sorts
and also
of stuff.
Between tenants, typically especially down in Perth, they don't actually want to put it on the market until it's been emptied and cleaned and all this stuff. And
So
then they
any
put it on the market.
vacancy, you're kind of losing any increases and things like that.
So trying to put up your rent $10, it's like So it was interesting because when the market did justify rent increases, the tenants never minded because they knew they were. I never subsidized them. I just never made my rents expensive.
Yeah.
And I always looked after them from have a problem, resolve it straight away. And I've just had great tenants, so I've been lucky with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And tenants, I guess, they become your income, right? If tenants aren't paying, then you've got no income. You're not paying the mortgage. You're not paying your bills. So realistically, having a good tenant is always a really good thing when you're obviously buying property.
Yeah.
Anything else with lessons learned along the way?
So you do your own homework. Oh, family, friends.
Yes.
Oh, yes. So, as I was saying, we were buying in the 300 range. Well, I was. So, also, Sue actually went down her own path, by the way. Yep. So, after our first property we bought together, after that, I bought my own, and she went and bought her own.
Oh, yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah, so we were lucky. We ended up with 8-9 properties between the two of us.
Very impressive.
So, everybody kept on saying that when you buy a property in the 300 range back then, you're never going to make money. You need to go and not buy lots of properties because it's a lot of overhead and it's too much work and there's all this stuff. Go and buy more expensive and one or two. That's how it'll evolve for you. But my personal circumstance was that I couldn't do it, and I never did it for tax purposes. So I was happy. Oh, the other thing. That's right. 5% was my minimum. I needed to have 5% rent income.
Yep. For servicing purposes?
For servicing purposes. And I always wanted to be positively geared.
Yep.
Or geared gives it positively geared as soon as I could. That was the other thing. Because I didn't want to have to worry that my salary wasn't covering my mortgages and my costs. Because remember, it's not just a mortgage. Yeah, you got rates and you got all the other bits and pieces that go with it. And of course, something goes wrong, you have to have this buffer, as well. So I was again lucky that I always bought reasonably good new properties. So there wasn't much maintenance from that perspective. Yep. And it's the only property that I bought that was old was in Brisbane.
Yep.
And trying to think. Yeah, they had problems with air conditioning and garden issues and water and ants. God, how many times I actually had pesticide people going there to sort out ants and things like that. But again, they never moved. They were there for years and years. They just loved the fact that they felt at home, basically.
Yeah. And so would your tip be not to listen to family and friends in that respect and just run your own race?
Oh, listen, hear them out, but don't let them tell you what to do. Because, especially, what I've forgotten to say, though, is that my assumption is that whoever's listened to this was pre. Because with positive real estate allowed me to learn. Basically, the mistakes I made were made when I didn't engage with pre.
Yep.
Okay. And the mentors I had over the years, and with me moving, Jason was my last mentor. He and also all the functions, all the things we used to go do up on the rooftops in Brisbane on the
the mentoring nights.
And mentoring nights, you always learn things, and you always are presented with options, and even if you didn't do anything, it just gets your head to think about things and expand your own options and basically
knowledge,
scope of what you can do and what you can't do. I guess the main thing is find people who know what they're talking about, and who have got education. Whether it's pre or somebody else, but obviously pre I find has enabled me to retire much sooner than I thought I could, because I've just basically stuck to the basics, stuck to my strategy, and spoken to my mentors whenever. They're always available. Now, the interesting thing with Jason, with my last review I had in 2019 with him, because after that I thought, I'm done now, because I retired in 2020. He actually said to me, he looked at my portfolio and he said, I would get rid of your super and buy a property in your super. And I thought, no, I can't do that. I've already got 5 properties. I don't want to go buy another property. Well, little did I know that COVID was going to be around the corner, and that the property market was going to go up 20-something%, and that the share market went down, as it did.
It did, didn't it?
Well, fortunately, it did turn around and go up again, fortunately. Yeah. But yes, that was almost like in hindsight thing. Oh, Jason was right.
Yes, it was certainly one of those things in COVID where I think everybody thought that the markets were going to plummet, and we were sitting here going, no, buy, keep going. Yes, and over the last couple of years, it's been really impressive to obviously see what's happened in the market. It's been amazing. Yeah. And so tell me about your house in the Sunny Coast. You've moved up there recently, and obviously your property journey along the way has allowed you to, break free into retirement. Are you enjoying retirement? You're enjoying the Sunny Coast? Tell me a bit about that on the other end.
So we lived in Brisbane in the ARIA building, as you know.
Yes. Yes. You were too.
And that was
living the life in the ARIA
that was, having the city in front of you and the river below and the pool on the rooftop was just incredible. Yes.
Yeah, very, very impressive building too. Amazing.
Yes. And we were lucky on being on level 13 and on the corner. Yeah. It's just so we had to try and beat that, and we knew we could never buy that. Yeah. Okay, but Sue's daughter lives up in Markula, up the Sunshine Coast, and so we were capsizing up and down, and we liked the area, but because we were spoiled in Brisbane and in Manly, we lived on the harbour, so we had the harbour in front of us, also renting, and so we wanted to be near water. and we knew we couldn't afford something on the beach. So Sue was the person here. So she identified all the we bought a unit, by the way. So the units that faced north, that were on the water, and she had all the blocks around Mululuba identified. And this property came up on the night before Easter, the Easter, before Easter Friday.
Yep.
And she saw it come up, and she said, "Oh, this buy it," because we had walked around this complex, and this one was right in the middle of, and we got the canal in front of us here. So we have nobody looking at us. We have just water in front of us and palm trees.
Oh, fantastic.
And we had to pay a bit more than we wanted. But Sue was like, "No, this is it. This is life. This is this lifestyle." And we bought it. And she had just sold a property. So she was able to, and prior to this, I had just sold a property as well. So we had cash.
Yep.
So we bought this thing unconditional.
Wow.
Right. So straight away, just that's it. We bought it, moved in, and we've had to renovate bathrooms.
Yeah.
But after that, it's been, which we did ourselves. We managed it ourselves, but Sue likes to renovate.
Yeah.
And it took a long time because of COVID. You know, nobody's around, nobody's available, supply issues. But yeah, and we walk. It's a 15-minute walk to the beach, and we've got a gym just down the road. We cycle everywhere. It's just next level. It's really nice.
Yeah, amazing. So retirement sounds like it's a good time then, obviously. Living on the canal, 15-minute walk to the beach.
Yeah, and the best part is we don't have, compared to rent we paid.
Yeah.
The rental, if you call it rent, is so minimal. It's nothing. There's no mortgage.
Yeah, that's it. It's just your expenses, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very good, very good. All right, so I might wrap it up there today. So thank you so much for sharing your story with me and with obviously everyone on Property Investor Tales. And I'm sure everyone will get a lot of good tips out of that. I think what you shared with us along the way regarding your lessons learned and, you know, the best things that you did, it's really, really amazing to hear, you know, somebody on the other end of the scale that is at retirement and, you know, you did it in such a short period of time. So I want to congratulate you on that. I think your story is amazing and it's very inspiring for someone like myself. And
Thanks,
I'm sure
you know,
people sitting on the other end, you know, having listened to your story as well. So thank you for coming along today and joining me on Property Investor Tales.
No, pleasure. I hope I didn't ramble too much.
Thanks for listening to Property Investor Tales. Remember to subscribe so you get notified every time a new episode drops. As you can guess, we love hearing people's property investor tales, so if you'd like to share yours, then please get in touch with us via email at positiveinvestortales@positivementor.com.au. We also love your feedback and would appreciate a 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Remember, you can watch all of these podcasts over on YouTube at Positive Mentor or at positivementor.com.au. Until then, take care and bye for now.